Job approval ratings. This is not what you could be. This is what you have been and you are. And we've got to judge this on a curve, okay? Some programs are capable of more than other programs. So if you're this first guy we're about to talk about and you're underachieving at a place where you want for nothing, you're going to get graded harshly. Jimbo Fisher's bringing home a C- tonight. Jesse said that I should have gone lower. I don't know. Maybe I'm just that teacher everyone wants. C- is where I went here. We've got some stats. They are damning, to say the least. This one's from Brett McMurphy. I can't believe this. There is one college football coach, period. One. That's the end of the list. There's one college football coach that has started in the top 6 3 times and finished unranked, and his name's Jimbo Fisher. 2 of those times have been at Texas A&M, the most recent this past year. Sure, you could come back at me and make the argument I make sometimes. Don't be mad at a team for not fulfilling their end of the bargain. Be mad at the people who rank the team too high. Now, I will grant you, maybe Texas A&M was just a smidge overrated in the top 10. So forget about it being in the top 6. What if we placed him at 17th coming into this past year? Was that more fair? I think it would have been. Well, they still finished 5-7 either way. I could have ranked them 40th, and they wouldn't have lived up to the 40th build ranking in the country. They're underachieving. This is not year 2 or year 3. See, if they go 5-7 in year 1 or year 2, there's a number of reasons why that could be happening. You go 5-7 in year 5 at a place like Texas A&M, that's never going to be acceptable. There is no list of excuses, and to their credit, Texas A&M fans didn't attempt to make the excuses for Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher's got a way he carries himself. Now, I've never been rubbed the wrong way by it for the same reason I'm not rubbed the wrong way by Stetson Bennett. Some people think Stetson Bennett's a jerk. I couldn't care less about it. He's never been that way to me personally, but even if he had, I'm not 5 years old, so I don't need to take it personally. I can just judge the guy for his accomplishments on the field. I've never had a problem with Jimbo Fisher, and he's come at me before. Need I take you back to the signing day show last year? The genesis of sliced bread. Sliced bread was born that day. Well, who do you think he was doing an interview with? Ding, ding, ding. I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't have an ounce of animosity towards Jimbo Fisher after that. I don't have a problem with you carrying yourself any way you want to. But if you're a little prickly, then understand people are going to be just as quick on the other side of the fence when you slip up to start bringing out the torches and the pitchforks. Maybe not even me, but I'm the one who has to grade you tonight. C-. 2023 is a make or break year here. I rarely traffic in that sort of hyperbole. This is not hyperbole. Ask folks around the program. Don't ask me. It's their program. It's not my program. He just brought in Bobby Petrino, offensive coordinator. We talked about that a couple of times on the show. Necessary, and I think will be beneficial, but I don't know that. But he better know that. No, there are no certainties out there, but he better be really, really, really sure. It's just a wobbly program right now. It's an uncertain program right now. Now, I happen to believe that this exodus of players, some of whom they probably never should have brought in there, is not going to be nearly as detrimental. In fact, sometimes that's the opposite of the consequence that some people think it will be. Sometimes you bring some guys in the signing class like they had last year, and then some of them are problem kids and they immediately leave, and you think, uh-oh, look at all that talent they're losing. There is a such thing in this sport as addition by subtraction. They're not going to hurt for players this year in College Station, Texas, but they do have some holes to fill, and they do have obviously entire facets of this football team that are unproven, and they don't have 2 or 3 years leeway to figure it out. So right now, this is not a prediction segment. C-. See, just get me back to 8 wins. We thought that was the baseline. It's not. Now we're trying to fight to get back to the 8-win range. Texas A&M should be so much better than that. So much better. All right, let's go to a place where they're doing okay. They're doing pretty good in Columbus, Ohio, I would say. Ryan Day. Again, we're doing this kind of, I didn't turn the volume all the way down over here. We're doing this relative to what your resources are, therefore what your expectation level should be. What should Ryan Day reasonably be expected to do? My answer would be compete for the Big Ten every year and compete for the playoff spots every year. And he's done that. The problem is, lately, past 2 years, can't get past Michigan. Didn't stop him from getting in the playoff this past year. It did the year before. All right. Follow me here. This could be an answer where when I give it, I got to give a moment's pause. So I think I'll do that in honor of the people who are going to yell at me. I'm giving Ryan Day a B+. Jeopardy music, Jeopardy music, Jeopardy music. Okay, we're back. Ohio State is in a really good position. There is so much further they could fall down than room for them to climb. There is a balance that I have to strike here, because I'm the one given the approval rating, and I'm sure the comment section will be very, very colorful when it comes to this particular guy, because there's a polarized college football public out there when it comes to the perception of Ryan Day. I know the ones of you who are disagreeing with me disagree because you think Harbaugh's right about him. The guy was born on third base, thinking he hit a single, and he had it handed to him, and just any fool. I could pull a toucan out of a tree and he could do what Ryan Day's done. Can you beat Michigan? Can you win a national championship? Well, part B of that, he was a missed field goal away from doing this past December and January. I know that doesn't really do you any good if you're living in Akron, Ohio right now, because he missed the field goal. Well, he didn't miss it. His kicker missed the field goal, and he didn't get to go play for a national title, which he most assuredly would have won. But I do think in those terms. I don't think there's anything different about Ryan Day, the coach, making that field goal and going and dragging TCU versus missing it and going home and being 0 for 2 your last 2 games to end the season. But he will be graded vastly different because one scenario played out over the other. All I'm telling you is I think he's pretty good. I think he's really good. And I do not think that there are massive changes, just small degrees of changes that have to be made here. But there's this other camp that may think I'm grading him too low. There's a camp that says, how could you say that a guy who's won just about as many games as anyone for his first 50 in the history of college football, how could you only give him a B+? 99% of the sport would kill to have that record. Well, my response is Ohio State's the 1%, and so it's not quite good enough. It's not way not good enough. It's just not quite good enough. Beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, and compete for a championship, at the very least, are the 3 dominoes you're wanting to knock down every year if you're Ohio State. Having said that, it sounds like I've made both arguments. There's a price you pay for having this job. It doesn't sound like it. You make a bunch of money. You get put on the biggest stage the sport has to offer, one of which the sport has to offer, and you did not have to work your way up the head coaching ladder to get it. Doesn't sound like there's a price to pay, but there is. There's not many coaches out there under more pressure right now than Ryan Day. This past month, I think probably was pretty hellacious up there for that coaching staff. And it's because of the price you pay. It's the kind of pressure it's a privilege to be under, but that doesn't mean it's any less pressure packed. So I'm giving Ryan Day a B+. I still believe in him. Still believe in him. I saw a lot of you calling him Ryan One Day in the chat the other night. And I think that was a little bit hurtful. And I think some of you should think about where your heart is when you type that sort of thing. Shame on you. Could I direct your attention to Columbia, South Carolina? This one, out of the 4 we're doing tonight, I think we'll get the widest range of grades. Remember, it's a letter grade system here, and you can go minus, equal, or plus. Shane Beamer, South Carolina. What job approval grade are you giving him? Because I could not go any lower than an A-. There were some games this past year where I watched and I said, woof, the Florida game among them. But if I'm going to go back to past years, when he's only been there 2, if I'm going to go back to these past 2 years, I'm not going to grade him on a single game. I got to grade him in totality, right? And all I know about the guy, this is pretty straightforward, is he's had 2 shots at it there. He did not inherit a loaded program by any stretch of the imagination. He was hired for a reason, in other words. The job was open for a reason. It's not because someone went to the NFL. So he inherited a situation. The over has hit 2 years in a row. His 2 years there, when it comes to the win total, he's overachieved 2 years in a row. In this past season, it wasn't loading up on a bunch of inferior competition. They beat Tennessee soundly. They beat Clemson. I did not think his first 2 years were going to include a win over Clemson because of how big a head start Clemson as a program had over what Shane Beamer inherited. This is not the University of Georgia right now. It's not Ohio State. It's not Alabama. I'm not sitting here looking at 8 wins the same way I would if Nick Saban put up an 8-win season. 8 wins is a huge deal considering where they were 24 months ago. And you're looking at some things that he's accomplishing right now that you would have to go back to the latter portion of the Steve Spurrier era to remember. Back-to-back, well, not back-to-back, but 2 wins over top 10 teams in the same season. They hadn't done that since 2013. That's Steve Spurrier. That's a while back. And also, there's an energy the fan base has. Now, I've felt this since the day he was hired because he was their guy. And it's one of those situations where the fans want someone, they get him, and early on it's working out. And the good news when you're watching South Carolina is not only is it working out, but there's still obviously so much room for improvement. So it's not like they're peaking the scale. It's not like they've got the pedal all the way down to the floor and Shane Beamer's leaning his head out the window saying, "Hope you're enjoying it. This is as good as we expect it to ever get." They could get better. They certainly could. I think there's a different gear in recruiting they're still capable of hitting. A proof of performance, like a proof of product, is important in the media business. That's when advertisers say, "You want us to spend that money with you? Show us why we should. Where are the numbers? Where's the data? We don't care about your feelings or opinion." Well, in college football recruiting and transfer portal recruiting, it's the same way. And now they're finally starting to get on a piece of paper the ability to walk into a living room, sit down on a sofa, eat some casserole, and say, "We've done this, and they haven't done this and this since then, and we're doing it. Come be a part of it." Instead of previously when it was, "You just got to believe. I can't show you anything. I hadn't been a head coach anywhere. You just got to believe." Well, finally, they're starting to get some ammunition to take out there. And the thing about it is, it's great that it's happened 2 years in a row, but you don't load a roster up in 2 years. You certainly do not. And so I think there's still a little ways to go, but I'm giving them an A- as of this moment. I can't go that high on the next one. West Virginia is in a bad place. Bad place. Neil Brown, I hate to do it, but this is a D-. This is about as bad a current Power 5 performance as we're seeing out there. And so I asked producer Jesse, "I know what I feel. Do the numbers back it up?" And he said, "You may want to go lower than D-." Jesse's cutthroat, man. Cutthroat. Ever since he almost beat me in ping pong the other night, he got a little different attitude around the office. See you in about an hour, Jesse. So listen to this. We always want to set a baseline, right? We always want to define what the expectation should be at a program. And sometimes fans are getting mad, and the reality is their expectation level's too high. That is not the case. If you're a West Virginia fan and you're mad, you should be mad. Neil Brown arrives in 2019, okay? The previous 16 years, 2002 to 2018, West Virginia appeared in the AP Top 25. 16 of those 17 years. They have not been there since. They have not appeared in the top 25 a week since then. That's nowhere near good enough. They were next to last in scoring offense and defense this past year. They were last in the Big 12 in turnover margin and points off turnovers. They're 3-12 under Brown versus top 25 teams. They got one winning season in his tenure, and that was the COVID year in 2020. That's D- level performance. I don't know what else to say. I would love to say something different. Neil Brown was at Troy when I was still down in Columbus, Georgia. Everyone spoke glowingly of him. Everyone loved him. He was a hot name in coaching circles even then. And so if anything, I kind of default over to the side of pulling for him. But that's not how job approval ratings work. It's not whether I like you. It's not whether I think maybe one day you'll pull your program out of it. Frankly, I thought he was going to be gone. It's not necessarily the kind of segment I do on the show. I talk about it when it's happened. I don't really call for many coaches' jobs. But I thought he was going to be gone. Most people in the industry did, and he's not. He's there for at least another year. I mean, unless something happens really late in the cycle. So D-. If anyone wants to talk me off that ledge, feel free. But man, there were voices in the building that wanted me to go lower than that. So.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't leave yet. Make sure you like the video and please subscribe to the channel. Not just for me, that's how we keep this entire thing free.